Hello and welcome. Today I'm doing just a little bit of an updates video. So I'm going to be updating you on some products that I've featured on my channel recently in the last month or so, sharing if I have any updated thoughts on them. I'm also going to do a little bit of an update on my project pan. This isn't like a formal update, but just kind of a brief discussion of how that's been going. I'm also going to update on a few things that I've talked about in recent videos where I talk about new and upcoming makeup releases, just to let you know the final decisions that I've made on whether I'm getting those things or if they're on their way to me or if I've decided to return anything. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. So starting out with product updates, the first thing I wanted to talk about is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Gel. This is something that became a quick favorite for me once I started trying it. I just found it really quick and easy to use, and I still do find that. But I had a comment from a viewer in a video where I featured this and I talked about it as a favorite, and they had mentioned that it dries out really quickly, or that they've either experienced that or they heard that it dries out very quickly. And I have to say it does dry out. So I've only had this probably a couple of months now, and it's pretty dry. I can still get it to work. Like, I used it today and it was fine, but it has now become a very dry formula. So I don't know if this would be something I would repurchase because of that. The next brow gel I'm going to try actually is the Kosas brow gel. I've heard really great things about that, but haven't tried it yet. So I have that on its way to me. And once I've finished with this one, I'm going to be trying the Kosas one, and hopefully it won't dry out as quickly. I'm thinking I might be able to drop some like saline into this and just kind of mix it around to rehydrate it a little bit, but I haven't tried that yet. I'm just going to see how much longer I can still make it work at this consistency before I try messing around with it at all. Next thing I wanted to update on is the Rare Beauty liquid blush. So they brought out three new shades in their dewy formula of their liquid blushes recently, and I got the shade Hope, and I've just been loving it. I think the formula is great. I don't really have any changed thoughts from when I first used this on my channel, but one thing I did realize is that these remind me, the dewy formula especially, remind me of the M Cosmetics serum blushes. So I think they're quite a similar formula to that, although these are a little bit easier to work with for me. I find the M ones can kind of sink into my skin too much, and I need to layer and layer and layer. And this formula is just a little bit easier, gives a bit more immediate impact. But the effect, that sort of dewy, serum-y blush effect that you get from this, I find is very similar to the M Cosmetics. And for me, that's great because it's not that easy to get M Cosmetics products to me in Canada. They have high shipping fees and they have duties that you often have to pay on the orders as well. So if there's something that I can get much easier from Sephora Canada, that's great for me. So I'm really happy to have discovered this formula and to have kind of made that connection that these are to me quite similar to the M Serum blushes, but actually for me a little bit better and a little bit easier to work with. The next update I have is on the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. I've mentioned that that foundation broke me out, and so I have decided to return it. Before I fully decided to return it, I had actually come to really enjoy the formula even more than I had in my first review. I think it's a great foundation. I love the coverage level and the finish, and I think it wears really well. And I like, as I mentioned in that video, in my review, I love that combination of having that dewy, radiant formula and finish with that good level of coverage and the long-lasting staying power of the product. So I do think it's a really great foundation, but unfortunately it has two major flaws for me. The lightest shade is too dark for me, and the formula breaks me out. So that's why I've decided, it has those two strikes against it. I've decided I'm going to be returning it because it's just not something that I'm going to feel comfortable wearing, knowing that it's going to irritate my skin and that the shade is also not a great match for me. But I think that if those aren't issues for you, the issue I think with the formula is the hyaluronic acid in it, which breaks me out. So if that's not an issue, and if you can find your shade in that foundation, I do think it's a great option. Now, I also mentioned in a recent video on new and upcoming makeup that I was planning to get the lighter shade of the two Chanel Comet blushes, the shade Pêche Cosmique, I think it was called. I did order it and it arrived. I looked at it and I've seen swatches on other people who have similar skin tones to mine, and it's not really a blush. It's too light. It looks basically like a kind of peachy highlighter in the swatches, and when I looked at it in the pan, it's very, very light toned. So I've decided that I'm not going to be using that. I'm not going to review it. I'm just going to send it right back and get a refund on it, because that's not what I wanted from that product. I don't consider it a blush, although it's called a blush. To me, it looks much more like a highlighter or a blush topper type of product, and for $90 Canadian, it's not worth it to me to keep that in my collection. So I'm just going to send it right back and return that Chanel blush. Wanted to also update on the Olivia Palermo Au Naturel palette. I did include this in my favorites of 2020 video, so that tells you how I feel about it, but I've just been continuing to use it and really enjoying it. So I just wanted to share that this is still a favorite, and this is one that I think is going to be a go-to again and again for me on an everyday basis. I like that you can do your everyday looks with it with really neutral tones, but you can also do a little bit of a smokier look or even a more colorful look with that blue shade that's in there. So I'm just continuing to love that, and I think it's an excellent palette. Now, as far as my project pan is going, I can link my project pan video so you can see all the items that I've decided to include in that. And this isn't going to be an in-depth formal update on how that's going, but just generally, I think I've used every item that's in my project pan at least once. The Natasha Denona Trio Chrome palette I think I've only used once, but the rest of the items in the project pan I have used more than once since I started the project. I really started the project at the beginning of January this year, although I was slowly incorporating some of those products into my routines before that as well. But it's going well, and I'm really happy with all of the items that I've chosen. I may decide in the future, like in the spring or summer, I may switch out some items just depending on how I'm feeling, how I'm doing with everything. But I might want some different color stories and so on as the seasons change. But for now, I'm very happy with all the items I've chosen. The quality of everything I've chosen is great. I have actually hit pan on the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush bronzer in the shade Fair. That just all of a sudden there was the pan. So that was exciting to see. And it's going well. I'm not using them as much as I think I would like to, but I'm not wearing a lot of makeup these days. I was sick and I wasn't wearing a lot of makeup, and I've just been in a very minimal makeup mood lately, but those moods change, so I hope to be able to use those items more and more as time goes on. Then just an update on a few other items that I've mentioned in new and upcoming makeup release videos that are still on their way to me but haven't arrived yet. So the Salt New York Sneaky Skin Tints, those are on their way. They should be arriving hopefully very soon. I may have already put up a video on them. It depends when everything comes in. I'd like to do one video with a few new items. So once all of those items are in, I'll try to do the video and get it up that day. So depending on when everything comes in, you may have seen those already, or I may be posting very soon. But it's the Salt New York Skin Tints. Those are coming soon, and I'll be reviewing those. And I want to do those in the same video that I'm reviewing the new Victoria Beckham Olive Satin Kajal liner, which is also on its way to me, as well as the new Charlotte Tilbury Cream Eyes to Mesmerize, the matte formula. I'm going to be hopefully doing all of those in one single video. It will be coming very soon. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about, just a few updates and what's coming up. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see those. And if you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would love for you to do so. Thanks again so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.